Welcome back to What's Haunting the Hearst. I hope you've been enjoying our videos lately. We've been going out and exploring, doing some things we wanted to do from the start. Just getting out there, getting in the woods, getting into different locations. Obviously, we've been trying Randonautica and stuff. And we'll talk about that. But not in this episode. This episode is one that I debated on doing. I wasn't sure, but I think it's probably going to be a good topic of conversation, be interesting. I want to talk about autism and what it's like being an autism family. I want to go everything from the diagnosis to accepting to daily life, finances, all of this type of stuff, and how autism affects that in everyday life. I know it's Christmas season. We still have a skeleton hanging up. And that's okay. It makes us happy. So we'll start at the beginning. It's a good place to start. We have basic overview. We have 2 children. We have 3 children total. We have 2 children that are on the autism spectrum. And it's a wide-ranging spectrum from high-functioning, super geniuses, software designers, engineers, what have you, to low functioning, can barely survive without any type of assistance. And if you hear one autism story, you've just heard one autism story, because everybody's is different. And I'll go over some of ours. I won't get into every little detail, but try to do an overview. My oldest son, Benjamin, is 12 years old, and he was, from childhood to 3 years old, he was rambunctious, very happy kid, running around, very hyper, and we started to notice some things were a little bit off. He did a lot of toe walking, walking on your tiptoes. He did a lot of stimming with his fingers. They'll stare at their fingers and do these things, and we didn't think much of it at first, but then when we started looking into it, we started seeing autism popping up everywhere when these things are mentioned. And it's not like you go to the doctor one day and say, hey, my kid's having these symptoms, and they say, oh, autism, and then you have an autism diagnosis. It is a long, drawn-out strain on your emotions, is what it is. And multiple psychologists, psychiatrists, and all that are involved until they finally make the determination that they suspect that it's autism. And when that happened, I can still remember it as if it was yesterday. Just bawling, just crying. Because I knew our life was going to be very, very different than what we expected. So, with our autism experience with Benjamin, so our youngest son, Peyton, is also on the autism spectrum, but he is extremely high functioning. other than a few little quirks, you would not know that Peyton is autistic. With Benjamin, it's obvious from just the first meeting. He's on the lower functioning end of the spectrum. He can get around, he can speak. He has a full vocabulary, he just rarely uses it. He's not conversational. He can tell you what he needs, he can tell you if something's hurting or bothering him, but he doesn't always use that ability. And in our autism experience, we've seen that there's been phases of the journey. There's been the scary phase when they're very young. They're very fast, especially when you're a fat guy like me, and they want to take off running. With Benjamin, he always wanted to wander. He always wanted to get away from us. And once he got away from us, he was no holds barred. He was running as fast as he could. And he didn't know where he was going. He just knew he wanted to run. And that is across the board with a lot of autism families where their children will be prone to run away. And it's a terrifying part, and you lose a lot of sleep. You have to get creative. With Benjamin, we had it good for a while because we could, lock the door from up top and stop him from getting out of the house. Like if he were to wake up earlier than us or just going about our day, if we didn't want to worry about Benjamin getting out of the house, we could lock the door from up top. But eventually, Ben learned that he could grab a broom or something and unhinge that lock and take off. And then we had to do something that I wasn't comfortable with, but it was the only way we could feel relatively safe that Benjamin wouldn't get away from us. We bought a double-sided deadbolt lock where we literally, as soon as we got inside the house, instead of a deadbolt where you turn and latch it and then you unlatch it and leave, this deadbolt you had to use a key from inside and lock it. So you are locked. You cannot get out of that house. You cannot get out of the house. I'm not talking about in. You couldn't get out of the house without using a key. And that stopped him from running away. But I was always terrified because I was like, if there was a fire or something like that and we had to get out of the house, that's an extra step. It's an extra step in getting out is we're going to have to unlock with a key a door to get out of the house. So yeah, we had that. There's personal things that you deal with, personal problems on the children's side that I don't really want to get into. As far as bathroom habits and things like that, that can be very difficult. But one thing that I want to stress, and it's something that I don't want to say that we are good with, but it's something that we have accepted as normal, is if before you ever had children, if you had a group of friends that you hung out with, or you like to go out to eat with friends and spend time, and perhaps you could, just plan things out and have fun. that changes after an autism diagnosis. And I don't want to put fault on the friends. I don't want to put fault on us. It's just part of life. And what I will say to kind of show both perspectives on that is, when you are an autism family, you kind of back off and sink into, this is our little unit, and we are going to be just us, and we are going to deal with this. On the outsider's point of view, the friends, they can sometimes see that as they aren't wanted to be involved, and sometimes the people just don't want to deal with it at all. So you get a lot of built up anger, depression, sadness. You'll go on Facebook and you'll see friend groups that, like one couple will have a baby and then they're all hanging out together and their kids grow up together just having fun. And you get angry. It's like, well, yeah, my child has these needs, these special needs, but, he needs friendship too. He needs acceptance, love, and we still see people that we were friends with before we had kids, but we see them in gatherings. And the good thing about gatherings of large groups of people, there's pluses and minuses. The pluses are, you can get in there and you can kind of keep an eye on your child, your family, while other people are entertaining themselves. If it gets to be too much for the child with autism, you can sneak out the door. Nobody's going to miss you. The bad part about it is, a lot of times those kids just kind of get left out. And to be fair, like with Benjamin's case, Benjamin likes looking at a tablet, and he likes being to himself, and that's fine. But sometimes Benjamin is one of the most loving, caring boys I've ever met in my life, people in general. And he would be somebody that people could love very easily. But it's hard to get to know him if you don't try. There's a financial toll on families with autism families. I would say, I looked at some statistics that put a pretty high number up there, but I would say a large percentage of families with children that have autism are low middle class to poor. And I believe there's a reason for that. The only treatment for autism, the only real treatment for autism, is early intervention and therapy. Early intervention and therapy costs so much money that you could never afford it unless you were making big money already or found about 5 jobs. If you find multiple jobs to work, you'll never be there for your child with autism or for your family who needs you very much. if you make enough money, if you make too much money, so here's the deal. You could get on your state insurance if you're on a lower level of income. And the state pays for autism treatments, behavioral therapies, and all that. And it's been a real good thing for us. Ben's shown amazing growth. He's surpassed what we could have imagined. And every day he surprises us with something, If my wife were to start working and making more money, we would automatically lose that state insurance. What would that look like? Well, we wouldn't be able to afford a therapy. We wouldn't be able to give him that treatment that he desperately needs. And we would be stuck in a rut, and Benjamin would regress. And regression is a real thing with autism. If you are not on top of it at all times and continuing therapy, they will regress and regress and regress and lose so much of the ground that they've already gained. So if you make more money, you lose insurance, and you still don't make enough money to afford the therapies. So what do? You don't make more money. You have to make sacrifices in order to help your child. So my wife is a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. And she enjoys working. She enjoys being out. And, but she's had to make that sacrifice. And she spends every day driving Benjamin to therapy and making sure that he's taken care of while simultaneously taking the other kids to school, picking them up, all these things. And I spend most of my weekdays at work. But the whole time you're battling insurance, you're battling Social Security disability. The year that COVID came along, when they started giving out all of those economic impact payments, and most of us got one. Most of us got multiple checks. We didn't ask for them. The government just mailed them out to everybody. Social Security disability had the gall to act like we went out and purposely made more money, and they stopped offering their benefits to us. And we had to appeal that and say, no, I didn't go out and make more money. Money was given to us without us asking for it to receive it. But that money didn't stop this child from having autism. And it happens all the time. If you make an extra buck and you put it in a savings account, SSI figures it out, and they'll stop benefits until you explain it to them. And it could be a couple months process to regain those benefits. It's absolutely a crazy system, but it's part of everyday life. Now, my wife deals with a huge portion, the majority portion of this kind of stuff. I am nowhere near smart enough to deal with this, but she deals with that, and then she has to do daily IEP meetings where they're with their people that you'll have people in the room that don't know anything about autism clearly, and then you'll have a teacher in the room or something that knows about autism and knows Benjamin personally, and they're just trying to keep track of progress. And those IEP meetings can be good and they can be bad, but it's part of everyday life with autism. If you're going to be given assistance, they keep up with you. I understand that. But autism is not curable. It's not something that goes away. And to realize that you're going to have to deal with these meetings your whole life, these therapies your whole life, and obviously being in a dogfight with the Social Security Administration and the state your whole life, it can really take a toll on you. Most people, I would imagine, look at their children, they love them as we love ours. You raise them and you wait for the day that you get to see your children get married, start a family of their own, and then you begin a new journey of your life where it's you and your wife again, retiring and maybe taking vacations and going into the sunset of your years, and seeing what that's all about. An autism parent knows that is never going to be the case. An autism parent lives in fear every day because they know, not fear because we don't want to take care of our child, but knowing that we are everything that child has. So not only do we not get that time where our child lives independently, but then we have to worry and have to figure out concrete plans. When we die, who's taking care of this child? To make sure that he doesn't live out on the streets somewhere, homeless. At the same time, you have to give the language of the day, neurotypical children a somewhat normal life. They have an understanding. My middle child, Wyatt, is a very compassionate child, but he's taken on himself. We haven't given him anything. He's taken on himself an understanding, a wisdom far beyond his years. If y'all hear that noise in the background, you're just going to have to ignore it. It's Benjamin. He loves playing the tablet at the highest decibel, and you could tell him to turn it down, he'll turn it down, then 5 minutes later it sneaks back up unexpectedly. But Wyatt has to take on a great deal of responsibility, and we have to fight somewhat to try to give him normal childhood experiences, and it's not an easy thing to do. And a lot of times, as you've seen on our YouTube videos where we do explorations and try to have fun, it breaks my heart every time I make those videos because only 2 of my kids are in them, because Ben just wouldn't be able to keep up to do it. He would not be interested in it, and it breaks my heart. So you have to juggle. You're juggling 20 chainsaws at once and trying not to get your arm cut off. That's what autism feels like. It comes with depression. There can be depression with the child, but there's definitely depression with the parents, and it's a very real fight because it's more stress than anyone could ever imagine. I was reading an article not long ago that said that autism parents often have a form of PTSD, and like you see from combat veterans, and we're not getting bullets shot at us, there's not explosions going off near us, but there's so much emotional trauma hitting us on a daily basis that it's a wonder that we function. And that's what it's like. On the positive side of things, you get to watch your child that you love very much be the realest human being imaginable. There is no faking with autism. If this kid doesn't like you, he does not like you, and he won't like you. If he likes you, you're liked forever. There's nothing that you can do to change that. If he doesn't want to watch something that you're watching on TV and you try to persist watching it, he'll rip that TV off the wall and you won't watch it. They're very real, they're very honest, and they don't take a lot of bullshit. But just to see them grow and become the human beings that they were created to be is a wonderful thing. Every day I get hugs from Benjamin and kisses, and he always wants tickles. And he's 12 years old, and he'll still lay in my lap and ask for me to tickle him and give him a kiss. And I do, because I love him. It's not easy. It's not an easy life to be an autism parent. I don't write things down for my little vlogs or podcasts, and that's very obvious, I'm sure, to every one of you. Trying to think of a few things you probably shouldn't say to autism parents. You probably shouldn't talk too much about your hard life when it's very obvious that it's trivial things. You probably shouldn't tell an autism parent that God only gives these children to people that he can trust. We're not any more trustworthy than anybody else. We got put in the situation, and they're our children, and we love them. A lot of these children with autism have eating disorders. Benjamin got COVID. Last year, I believe. No, it's 2021, I think. Time all runs together since the pandemic. But he got COVID, and Ben's always been such a picky eater that he never really got that many nutrients to begin with. And when he got COVID, it zapped the last remaining nutrients in his body. And without us knowing, his optic nerve shrank. This wasn't something that was figured out quickly. One day at therapy, he started screaming about his eyes, saying that his eyes were hurting. And we took him to the hospital, and there was so many stupid doctors along the way that said he was just being difficult. You know, maybe he has pink eye and we'll treat him for that. After 10 nights in the hospital or more, and about 15 specialist doctors that looked for everything from anemia to autoimmune diseases, brain tumors, terrifying things. A neurologist finally determined that his optic nerve had shrank, and Ben can barely see now. And he has to hold a tablet right up to his eyes to see anything. You could walk in the room and he used to say, "Hey, Daddy," or "Hey, Mommy." He'll say that now, no matter who walks in the room, because he doesn't know who's walking in the room. Till you're right up on him, or you say something. And this is a big deal because Benjamin, one of his passions is taking pictures. And maybe he got that from me. I like to take YouTube videos, but he can't see very well anymore to take his pictures. He still does. He just has to get right up to things to be able to see them. So that all comes about from eating. So one thing you shouldn't say, if an autism kid doesn't want to eat, they're just not going to eat. There's no punishment. There's no spanking. There's no timeouts. There's no nothing that's going to make that child eat. So don't look at a family with autism who's having trouble getting their child to eat and say, well, he wouldn't be holding that tablet if he wasn't going to eat, or he wouldn't be doing this if he wasn't going to eat. I vowed to myself, the next time someone says that to me, I'm going to punch them in the mouth. You have no idea. This is not any ordinary child. An ordinary child, yeah, wait them out. If you wait an autism child out on eating, they'll starve themselves to death. You have to give them an option that works for them. And then you can work on that in therapy over time, and that's what we're doing with Benjamin. Benjamin gets a lot of nutrients at therapy as he learns to try foods that he's not normally comfortable with. But a trained professional works with him on that. Not some hillbilly that doesn't know a damn thing about what they're talking about. So yeah, be careful what you say to autism parents, because you have no idea the struggle that they live with every day. And nothing happened to set this vlog off, except just a random thought in my mind. Hey, I haven't really spoken about this, and I think I will. So I know I was all over the place, and that's how I talk. That's how I talk, and that's how I do things. But I hope it gives you some type of grasp about autism. Thank you for listening, and we'll have some more haunted explorations soon. If you have any questions about autism, or if you just want to say hey, please leave a comment, and I promise you we'll get back to you. Thank you.